Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Savvy session, where you will get the weakest slides with the best information because this is all internal. So as you can see here, even the title is just called Black Friday. So let's get into it. If you've never heard from me before, I'm a top 25 PPC expert on various lists. I run Savvy Revenue. We have around 30 e-commerce advertisers in Europe with a team of 10 specialist managers. We only do mid to large e-commerce, so this is our Super Bowl. This is the most fun thing of the year. This is the thing we are really good at. So I wanted to share some of the latest insights, some of the learnings we had from last year, some of the things that we learned analyzing last year, which we've been doing throughout October and early November. So I hope that you're going to enjoy this as much as I enjoyed making it for our team, because I did make it for you. Okay. The agenda for today is we're going to analyze last year. I'm going to pull up 2 examples of accounts in Savvy where we talk about how did front loading go last year, what did Black Week bidding go last year, and then we're going to look at how we make a plan for this year using the data from last year. I have examples throughout with various accounts where I try to go, okay, this is what happened Black Week, Black Friday, post Black Week, before. I just try to pull in as many screenshots, as much data as I humanly possibly can, because that's what I need to do with the team. I need to show the team all the knowledge in Savvy that we had from last year, so nobody it doesn't know how to deal with a certain situation or comes into it and has to relearn the same thing that maybe some of us already learned last year. So that's what I'm going to do today, and that's what I'm going to try to show you with no client names, but all the data I could possibly find. Okay, so before Black Week, you want to analyze last year. And this is the way we do it. Again, take the script, take the Google Sheet, and you'll get your data in here as well, but that'll show you how I look at it. So the way that I look at this is that out to the right here, we can see that as we're in October, there's a normal difference with 4 to 6%. Where people are basically buying what they are looking at right away. But as we move into November, we're starting to see this creep up. So 11% in the week before Black Week goes to 13%, and then it stays more slow. So what we'll use this for is that the weeks up to Black Week, I want everybody in Savvy to drop ROAS targets if the numbers in their account from last year look exactly like this. Then what I want them to do is once you go over into Black Week and Christmas, then I want us to sustain that. Then I want to go back to the ROAS targets before. There's some, and I want them to actually increase back to it. It depends on how aggressive the lower targets were. In this case, I am going to increase the ROAS targets on Monday in Black Week because it's only a 10% difference. But this shows me that throughout Black Week, before Black Week last year, you can see here where I was at 788, 759, 735. I had the target is 600. I was way too high, and I didn't know it because because our overall numbers were really bad, and that forced us to overspend in Black Week. And that's a whole other conversation I'll cover later. It was a bad thing. Now, if you do the same analysis on a POAS perspective, it's funny how the numbers are more or less exactly the same, where you look at it and you go, okay, in the weeks leading up to Black Week, the same applies. More and more people waiting. And so the ROAS by time, the POAS by time we're looking at will have to be lower, because if we don't do this, if you don't do this, then you're going to come into Black Week with too narrow of a focus for smart bidding, and then you're simply not going to get the volume you need without overbidding like I did last year. In this case, this client was even running Black Month. We didn't run this last year, but this is analysis of what the in-house team did. And even when they were running their Black Month sale, which was the same thing in week 46, 47, and then in Black Week 48, we're still seeing the exact same numbers with people waiting. So takeaways from this section is expect 10 to 20% lower ROAS/POAS up to 3 weeks before Black Friday. Keep spending lower ROAS targets to build the funnel. Going into Black Week with a too high of a ROAS target, even if it's the same thing you run all year long, is a negative. You're going to come in with less traffic, less funnel, and too narrow bidding to actually be able to gain the volume that you want during Black Week. And then completely flip it in Black Week. Do not try to think you're trying to build a funnel for something else. People buy immediately. So during Black Week, the checklist that was my mistake. So the checklist before Black Week is, I just wanted to touch on this because this is the last thing, and I have more slides. or sort of more data, make sure you open up your max bid limits way before Black Week is starting. So we're talking now. Start increasing them by 10, 20, 30, 40%. 40 is a little bit. 10 to 30% per week before Black Week. If you do it in Black Week, it's going to start learning in Black Week, and you're not going to know how to control the bids. Start doing it now. Target set according to what I just showed you before with the front-loading analyzer. Take a look at it and make sure you set the targets 5% down, 10% down, 15% down, not percentage points, but 5 to 15% down, depending what the front-loading analysis says. Make sure you avoid limits. Again, use the script. I have that later. And make sure you write Black Friday ads. Make sure you include promo extensions as well. So here it is where, again, before Black Week starts, I want to do a bidding analysis from last year because this is really, really, really important. So this is Sunday last year. And I don't know if the numbers are a little bit small for you guys, but the Black Week, so Black Week last year on Sunday, we see a pretty high ROAS for this case, which is interesting. But at the same time, is this Monday? No, I wanted to show the conversion rates are actually continues to stay the same as, again, we're comparing this, I have a video on this, but I'm comparing this to normal Sunday and Monday in October, and conversion rates haven't started going up yet. So the reason why we're seeing a ROAS increase here is because there's a funnel release. The sale went live. All the people who are sitting and waiting are starting to buy now because conversion rates aren't higher. And that's why I'm a little bit against sometimes overbidding starting on Sunday and Monday, because we just, in this case, we haven't seen conversion rates goes up. So the CVCs that we go into Black Week with should actually stay the same. And that's also what we're seeing here is that Black Week on Monday, I went, whoo, we have a good day Sunday, blended ROAS, great day. Client goes, let's go, it's working. And we bid higher and ROAS goes down, and we go like, wait a minute, that was not intended. So we use that data for this year to not overdo it this year. And then for this client's perspective, Tuesday, Wednesday is where the ROAS starts going up. It's lower than, conversion rates start going up. It's strong now, but it's lower, like it gets better later in the week, but I started increasing bids here. This is also where we go from 5 krona bid to 777, and where ROAS wasn't strong enough to begin with, it is now. It's actually too strong in some of the cases. On Thursdays, where we see another conversion rate lift, and that's where we should start putting more bids up. We should start tapping into the strong buying intent that there is, and we should simply just make sure that we're not holding back, because now people are starting to really buy. People are not waiting anymore, and they're going as hard as they can. Friday is just let's go. We all know this. Black Friday has the highest conversion rates of the entire week, but I'll go into more detail why the ROAS that we hit Friday, Sunday, and Monday was so bad. I have an analysis. I have an analysis on that that's coming. But right now, we're just looking at what we're going to do this week. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, still a strong conversion rate, and that's something that I was very curious about, because we had our internal framework going into this was that, hey, Saturdays you need to drop bids, and that's also true. You have to drop bids from Friday to Saturday, but in this case, we drop all seasonal bid adjustments down to 0. And so remember, this 8 kroner CPC that we're seeing here, that's actually after I started increasing the CPC with an SBA later in the day. So imagine how low we started, and we came out with a pretty strong ROAS for the day. That's not good. This was too low. Like, we're bidding way too low. So this year, one of our key things we're going to differentiate is we're going to go into Saturday affording a stronger bid. Then Sunday and Monday, we're going to continue that. In this case, though, we started noticing a lower AOV. And that's something we can see live on the day if that continues this year. So that's just something I've put in to just pay extra attention to this year if my AOV starts decreasing, because then it doesn't matter if our conversion rate is the same, our ROAS is going to start dropping. So the reason why we dropped and didn't get the ROAS that we needed here was actually because the AOV was different from what we expected, so we were bidding too high. All of this usually results in you have a Black Week that looks like this. Do I have another one? So we have a Black Week that looks like this. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we usually have between a 10 to 20% seasonal bid adjustment. Thursday, we go up to 30, 40. Friday, we go from 30, 40 up to 60, 70, 80, sometimes 100, sometimes even more. Saturday this year, we're going to do 30, Sunday 30 to 50. But for this particular account, I'm going to pay attention to the AOV. And Monday, we're going to have a little push, but be a little bit more worried about it depending on how Saturday is. So let's jump into an example specifically on how we use the how we use the sheets, the scripts that I shared with you. So as you can see here, these are the numbers that we pulled in from before. That's very similar. So the way I'm going to use this, the way that I look at it when I go into it, is that I'm going to flip over here and see, okay, what are the calculations saying? So these were the bid increases last year. This is what just purely on a conversion rate comparison, meaning that the conversion rate here is basically the same. So it's saying we shouldn't use a seasonal bid adjustment. On Friday, conversion rate is more or less double than a normal Friday. So you should more or less put 100% SBA. That's the base SBA. That's like the theoretical SBA. Then we'll look at what is the relationship between the target ROAS and the optimal SBA that's going to get in there, and what should the optimal CPC be, and what's the optimal SBA doing math. This is something. This part is where you really have to put in your Google Ads head, because this isn't 100% correct, because there's some knowledge that's not correct. There's some overly aggressive, and again, stuff like that. So this is just an intended optimal SBA. The way it then compares at, okay, it then compares at what is the bid increase we saw last year and what's the optimal SBA on the day. Now, we remember seeing here that the optimal SBA here is 0% because we're not seeing an increase in conversion rates. So actually, this year, I'm just going to do 10%. And know it says 12, and know it said our bid increase last year was minus 19. But this is where I have some insights about the case, because I'm going to run into this with a much lower ROAS target than I did last year. So I'm not going to set a very aggressive CPC increase here, but I'm also not going to do nothing, because I know we're going to start converting better. So 10% the first 2 days, then I'm going to move up to 20. That's, again, it says 47. But that was because we were way too aggressive. We hit a too high ROAS than last year. So it's going to say go really aggressive, but 50% is too early for me. And again, remember, I'm walking into Black Week with lower targets than last year. So I'm expecting my CPCs to be higher. So I'm going to do 20% Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. During the day, I'm going to bump it up to 30. Not a lot. It's, again, it says it wants me to go up to 46, but I've already spent a lot of money coming into this. I want to be more careful. So again, Friday, I'm going to start at 30, and then I'm going to increase to 40, 50, 60 at intervals during the day. I know for a fact I'm not going to go over 9.5 kroner CPCs. That's the most careful part I have to be here. I can't go much further than this, because if I do that, it becomes a profit. And I want to be a little bit higher ROAS on the day. Saturday 30, Sunday 30, Monday down to 20 in this particular case. And these are the CPCs I'm going after. You can see it's actually recommending us to go higher, but I want to be a little bit more careful because last year we were overspending those days, and this doesn't take into account the AOV. Now, take your other example. Again, this is with what do you call it? This is POAS. So let me just go in and see here. Okay, so last year we actually have the exact opposite example here, where we're seeing that on Black Friday we saw a much higher POAS than what they were supposed to be. We didn't run this account last year, but this is much higher than where the target is and where it's normally. And you can see that the CPCs, they didn't really increase. Yes, they went up on Black Friday, but not enough. We could have gotten much further. We could have gotten much further throughout the week. So the way that I look at this is that now I'm just going to do it with you guys live. So when I'm looking at this, initially, I'm just going to change the targets because the targets aren't correct. So during Black Week, 150. On a Black Friday, we're running after 180. Again, you can just overwrite these if you want, so you can get it customized. Last year, early on, we hit 130, 130, 160. So it's saying to decrease. So initially, in this case, because I am going to be a little bit careful here, I'm going to go nothing. Nothing, nothing. Tuesday, we're starting to see conversion rates increase. I actually also know 311 is quite a lot higher than normal, but let's just keep it there for now. I can always go a little bit higher. But 4%, I'm going to start doing 20. That's more than enough. I know it's saying 0, and that's because last year it's more or less where the target is, but conversion rates started going up. So I want to start having a higher bid. The next one is I'm going to continue that on Wednesday. Thursday with the conversion rate of 489, same as Wednesday. I'm actually going to stay put. And then Friday, last year we did a bid increase of around 20. So we're already at 20. I'm going to pump that up to 40. And maybe even during the day, I'm going to set it up to 60 because it can definitely afford that. But you can see like a CPC of 6 kroner versus 5 kroner last year. That's 20% on top of what they already did last year. So I think that will be enough. It might even be a little bit careful. But I also want to make sure we're not overspending on Black Friday because we can always learn from this. I can always go more aggressive on the day if I want to. Then when we're looking at this one, AOV actually stayed pretty strong the entire week. And conversion rates, they dropped Saturday, but Saturday and Sunday was actually stronger than the rest of the week. So I'm actually going to go a little bit stronger into Saturday. I'm going to continue with 20%. Again, if we look at the other one, relatively, I go 60-30. So technically the same thing. I should go a little bit higher here, but I'm going to stay with 20. I'm also going to stay with 20 on Sunday. And then Monday, I'm actually going to go down to 0 because it looks like it starts dropping off there, but they also started like bidding much higher here. No, that makes no sense. Because if this is a 4, then that also needs to be a 20. So we're continuing here, and now we're getting a flatter POAS throughout the period. We're chasing more volume and overall get a better result. The one thing I want to be careful with here is how much more do we get out of these numbers versus these numbers, because this was incredibly profitable for them. So in order for me to go down to 180, I have to get more or less double the volume to just hit the same profit. So that's just something I need to pay attention to when I'm doing this. So during Black Week, you want to look at live data to adjust all the numbers you're setting, because we're going to have the best plan, and we have the best plan until you get, what is it Mike Tyson says? Like the best plan lasts just as long as until you get punched in the face. So that's the same thing here. So we have to look at live data. The way that we do it in Savvy, and this is a little bit complicated, but we pull out the numbers to a spreadsheet every hour, and then we can see what is the overall revenue, what is the overall account, what is the overall, this is the accumulated revenue, what is the tacos, which means what is the total advertising cost of sale, what is it if we only use the Google Ads numbers, because normally we also have meta ads in here. And that allows us to then say, okay, how are we trending throughout the day? Are we in the green? Are we in the red? In this case, we're in the green all day from sale early in September with the data. We're in green all day. We just have no more budget to spend. This is one of the most key things you can do, is to have a dashboard like this. If you don't have it where you can pull it in automatically, just create it manually. You don't have to get the data every hour, but just go in and say, okay, by 9 a.m., I have a total revenue of 100,000. I have a total spend of 12. At 12, you do the same thing. And that way, you go one by one by one by one. Can I maximize myself there? I don't understand why I'm so small. There you go. So, okay, where were we? Oh, yeah, we're talking about this. So where we're looking at just doing this manual, just set up a super simple spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Profitably has come out with a dashboard. What is it called? Action will have a little bit of something. Optimizer has come out with an excellent Black Friday dashboard as well. But if you can pull this data in, again, this isn't that complicated. If you pull this data in from Google Analytics, if you do it through the API, you have access to it right away, so it's pretty fast. Where you can't see it live in the actual interface, but you can pull it out live. You can also pull it out through Shopify with the Supermetrics or data Slayer connection. You can also just do it manually. You're supposed to look at the numbers manually. And going in on your account, in on your Shopify dashboard and say, this is the spend, this is the revenue, this is the spend. Have a calculation and say, what is the percentage of ad spend, or what is the percentage of revenue we're spending on ads? Is that because what we're looking for? We're looking for having more or less the same thing, the same percentage of ad spend as the rest of the year. So if you see at 10 a.m., it's looking good. If you can see at 12 a.m., it's looking good. If you look at 2, at 4, at 6, at 8, at 10, then you can decide, am I overspending or underspending? Because this is the most important data. I don't want to come out of Black Friday with this. I don't want to be, this is the target here is 10. This is severely underspending. But the reason why is because we didn't have any more spending to go. We couldn't get there. There was no more budget to get it. This client is a little bit rigid. And then, of course, check your budgets. Get the script that we've sent you or sending you after this, whenever you're getting it. Get it in here. Use it. It takes 2 minutes to install. Copy the spreadsheet. Install the script. It checks every single hour. What is the spend today? What is the spend yesterday? And it will compare it to the budget that's set to it and give you a percentage. And if you're at 80%, it will send you an email. It's not going to send you an email every hour. It's only going to send you it once during the day, once a campaign hits a spend percentage. This works both on share budgets and on campaign budgets. So you are in the clear. This will save you a ton of headaches, especially if you run several accounts. But honestly, I see this happen on individual accounts too. Yeah, that's an email notifications. So Black Weekend deep dive. This is what we want. This is what we don't want. So I wanted to show you guys this. So on Friday, here's an example where we had an early push and it really hit the blended ROAS. So we needed to adjust. You can see where the cost goes up here in the beginning. And that's because we're pushing. You can see we're pushing the CPC too high. And as we're getting to here in the middle of the day, the blended ROAS, when we're looking at it, was way too aggressive. Like this CPC increase, can I even see what it is? I can't see what it actually was, but it got way too high, and we had to readjust down, and we could never adjust up. We couldn't chase the volume at night because we had overspent early in the day. This is a horrible example. So I always say don't start out too aggressive, because if you have to chase a profit number or get back to profitability, then you're going to be in defense mode the rest of the day. Better to be a little bit lower and then start chasing as the night goes through. So this is a better example. The CPC stayed borderline stable. Costs went up a little bit during the night, but we didn't raise CPCs or bids enough because the overall ROAS couldn't justify it. So we're a little bit behind here, but it's better. This was a better example than this. This was a horrible example. This is okay, but you could argue that we were a little bit too aggressive too early because we never got to spend more. And you can see towards the end when we're spiking, you see on the green here, we're spiking, increasing CPCs towards the end because we're noticing, hey, there's more, we're not getting that lift that we're supposed to get. Then we'll also get a spike in cost. We'll also get a spike in traffic at this point in time, but it's too late. At 10 o'clock at night, it's already too late. So here's another example where on Black Friday, this is actually an example from before where I show you where we fuck it up. So you can see where we're basically going really well in the beginning of the day. We're having strong ROAS, and then we're increasing CPCs, and then we're starting to notice we're not really, what I remember here, we weren't getting enough. Like we're 34% higher than last year, which idiot here we should just stay with, but both myself and client was really excited. So we're like, okay, let's try to push. And you can see where the CPC goes up, and we just went too high for a little bit too long. So our ROAS in that hour goes down. We see that, we adjust, but we never really get back in the game. We lose out on some volume we could have had at night if we had a stronger, just more stable CPC increase. Oh yeah, this was the clicks. So this was the same thing. You can see here where we get more clicks, but we overpaid, and we're not quite like, our CPC is going down as clicks are going up, and it should have been the other way around. We should have been a lot more stable. So the learning from here is that we increased bids too much too often, and we had to readjust, and then we're on the back foot. I don't like seeing a chart like this. So if we take some better examples here, and I'm not sure if this gets too small. If it does, please make sure you just write in the comments so I know for next time. So I wanted to just have this as an overview. You can see over here, steady CPCs all day until 9, then it starts dropping off. This is like, you can see where it starts increasing, and then we start dropping off because ROAS was a little bit bad. But this was pretty good. This is almost textbook what we want also in terms of traffic and everything. Then over here, we're seeing that the ROAS, like you can see that this is the same slide. You can see the ROAS got too low, and as we were hitting these CPCs, but it's not because we made a single instant increase. This was more steady. It was better managed than anything else that I've shown you so far. Then Saturday morning, this is what I wanted to highlight this from before. Don't keep Friday bids, because this is where we're basically looking at the same example as before, where we have an impression share that's blue and CPCs goes from 14 down to 7, but we're keeping the same impression share. We could have been more aggressive on Saturday, like I said before. Definitely, this was too cautious, but I just wanted to show, please don't walk in and say, okay, we need to spend the same thing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, because this is Black Weekend. Black Friday is special. Spend away on Black Friday, but then be a little bit more defensive Saturday. But for us internally and savvy, we need to make sure we're not too defensive. So this is just an example of what I'm showing you here, where you can see where ROAS is just like CPCs are too low, ROAS is too high as we have the initial part here. And again, this is the same client. So you can see where we continue to have revenue growth later. But this is basically what I'm telling you is like, because people aren't buying that much in the morning, and because like in the early afternoon, it's like nothing really happens, then we end up just being too careful. So don't go to 0% SBA this time, is what I've told the team. And just go a little bit more aggressive. Don't go completely crazy, but go a little bit more aggressive. And then Sunday, the revenue, the one thing you have to remember on Sundays is that revenue continues to grow into the evening. That's really important. We don't get much out of the morning. We get some, but then we have a lull, and then it picks up again. So just, again, make sure the CPCs follow a little bit like a Black Friday. Keep increasing within the ability that you can from a blended ROAS perspective. Don't be too aggressive, because, again, there's no funnel building now. What we get is what we get, and we have to stay within the range on the blended ROAS number. But overall, it looks good. This is another example. Same thing. So Monday, one thing I just wanted you to be very careful with here is, like, again, lower volume Saturday, Sunday is still solid. These are the last buyers in your funnel that's going to buy now. You can see here where, as I'm showing here, there's 100, where we went from having a 13 to 15 to 20% higher POAS in the weeks leading into Black Week. Then on Monday after Black Week, there is 150% like more people that are buying right now than that are clicking. So make sure you do that. Make sure you keep track on this and learn from it. After Cyber Monday, one thing you don't want is CPCs rising. You can see an example here. This is just like worst case scenario. Conversion rates are actually pretty good and they're much higher than normally in the account. But for some reason, not for some reason, I know exactly why this happened last year, is that they didn't do data exclusion and they didn't do negative SBAs. This is what you normally see, because this was the case, if you don't remember, where on Friday you have a double as high for POAS than the target was. So smart bidding sees that and starts increasing bids. And then they notice it and go like, oh crap, let's start decreasing. So please, 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 you need to use data exclusions. You need to use negative seasonal bid adjustments. It's very individual from account to account, but make sure you don't walk like the worst case scenario after slide. I don't know. Worst case scenario is you have higher CPCs after Black Friday than on Black Friday. So this is a textbook, perfect example. CPCs drop back down to the normal level. Conversion rates are actually still high. We have pretty good ROAS in the period. We had too high of a ROAS here because we were too aggressive on Black Friday. It's my fault, client's fault. We all got too excited, like I said before. And here's another good example where CPCs drop back down to normal level. ROAS is good. Again, don't want to see a yellow line where you have a CPC of here and then it starts increasing afterwards, because then you're just going to see ROAS go crazy. Use negative SBAs and data exclusion. Exclude the full Black Week, Sunday to Sunday, if conversion rates are good the entire week. If weekend is much better than the other, you can also just do Thursday to Sunday. That's also good. As a whole, as a general rule, we like to do this. Minus 20% SBAs, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Minus 10% Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday back to normal. We might override this based on the data. Again, you should be running the script, so see data in your accounts, but this is typically what we see. Works really, really well because Google will always overspend after Black Friday, and a lot of it just get clunked up into, oh, hey, we're buying funnel for Christmas, and that's not the case. So, summary. Before Black Week, analyze the front load effect and lower your ROAS targets accordingly. Before Black Week, analyze the bidding from last year. Learn from the SBA plan. Create the SBA plan for this year. Create Black Week ad copy, create promotion extensions, open up max bid limits, all these things that we've talked about. During Black Week, analyze your MER or your blended ROAS on a daily basis. Adjust SBAs. Plan is only as good as the adjustments you make to it to the live data. Make sure you don't overspend on Black Friday, and make sure you don't underspend on Black Friday. It's one of the most important things. You're not supposed to do anything else right now. And then after Black Week, get CPCs down to normal. Get some data exclusions in for Thursday to Monday, maybe even the entire week. If it's an exceptionally good week, entire week. Get negative SBAs for Tuesday to Friday. It's a little bit more optional. I would say we'll always do it in Savvy, but we're also really attentive to whether or not CPCs goes up afterwards. So that's it for me. If you're sitting and you're looking at, this is not what your agency is doing, this is not what we're doing internally, I would love to help you out. I would love to take a look at your account after Black Friday and give you what do you call it, a proposal. I would love to talk about how we can be working with you guys next year to implement these things and help you guys out. So if you're all interested, just hit me up, send me an email. I hope you love this webinar. If you did, please write that you liked it in the comments, because we are discussing whether or not to do any webinars or Savvy sessions next year, and instead only do YouTube. So I would love to hear whether or not these little bit longer form presentations is what people actually like, or if you prefer the 10 to 20 minute videos that we post on YouTube. And if you're not subscribed to YouTube, please remember to go on to Andrew Talks PPC, because it is the best YouTube channel in the world within Google Ads. Hope to see you there, and I hope you kill Black Friday.